Hey everybody, have you considered starting a podcast? We here at Screwball highly recommend Podbean for getting your podcast out to a larger audience. Podbean has given us the ability to easily bring you Screwball each and every week on all of your favorite podcast services. Use the link podbean.com/screwball to sign up and save up to 35% annually. You can also use the link podbean.com/pro/screwball to sign up for a business subscription. Happy podcasting. Hey everybody, welcome back to Screwball, a baseball podcast, your home for everything baseball. I'm your host, Mike Lepre, here with my co-host, Frank White.
Hey, how's it going?
This is episode 65 of Screwball we're coming at you with, and actually one of our slowest news week, I'd say, this week. We kind of got a cool topic to talk about today, but not much other than that going on. Usual stuff around baseball, we'll get into later, a shorter injury list, thank goodness. So, let's just get into it. Let's jump into our first topic, our topic of conversation for the day is, if I'm wording it correctly, Frank usually comes with the topic of conversation. What are the most important stats to look at in baseball, especially for a hitter? So I'll let you kind of, like you usually do, kind of lead it off, so you kind of put the talking point, on the right path.
Yeah, I just wanted to go into stats or newer stats that show a great player, and obviously everyone knows the standard, hits and average and RBIs and home runs and. That's standard stats, standard measures. But now you have, analytics, and we're not going to dive into some real serious analytics here. But we just want to go into these stats where if you really want to go beyond the baseball card kind of stats and the basic knowledge, and you want to get into a little bit more advanced, but not quite that, outer space kind of knowledge. These are stats you could look at, and you can really see, this is why this guy's having a good year. This is why this guy's a good player. This is why this guy, hits for a high average, or maybe this guy is having a down year, but he's really hitting the ball well. Kind of really break it down instead of just being like, well, look at his stats. He's playing, he's really not playing great. But really he had, one of the best, percentages on hard hit balls and stuff like that. So to get into it, some stats that some of these I don't look at a bunch. Don't get me wrong. But these are stats that, if I really want to break it down, if I was a GM, or if I was an owner or something like that, and I really want to look at my team, these are stats I would definitely look at to tell me if this guy's worth anything. And this would start with on-base percentage. Obviously, that's important. Total times on base. So this is going to break down how many times you actually get on the base. Could be walks, hit by pitch, hits, reach on error, stuff like that. Anytime you're on base, that is productive. Walking back to the dugout is not productive at all. You obviously have WAR, strikeout percentage, walk percentage, men left on base, exit velocity, barrel percentage, which is, certain exit velocity is a barrel. Solid hit percentage is obviously a different bracket. And hard hit percentage, obviously another bracket. Balls thrown in the zone, miss percentage. So strikes, and you're swinging and missing at them. If you're swinging and missing at a high rate, or high percentage of balls in the zone, and you're missing, that's obviously not great. Pitches out of the zone, swing and miss percentage. So if you're going to swing at pitches out of the zone, you're missing a lot of them. That's obviously not great either. You're talking about defense. You're talking about reaction time and route efficiency. These are great ones to look at. Not so much speed, but if I have an outfielder who has, a 4.4 route efficiency out of 5, he's getting, straight to the ball. He doesn't have to be top guy in speed.
Yeah.
If he has a great reaction and good route efficiency, he's one of the better defenders. So that's what you want to talk about. So those are some of the big stats that I really like looking at. And a lot of them are pretty self-explanatory. I mean, WARs, you can't really explain that. It's just wins above replacement. You can't explain how you get there. But the rest of these are just, they're percentages, or they all make sense to themselves. I don't have to go into these a bunch. But these are going to show you who the better hitters are, what they're doing, how they're achieving that. I didn't go into what's their launch angle, because you don't need to be a launch angle to be a good player. I didn't go into that. If you want to talk about power hitters, maybe launch angles, maybe, if you want to build a team and you're like, okay, well, I need 2 power hitters. Well, let me go look at launch angle, home run percentage, stuff like that. If I want a team that doesn't strike out, obviously I'm looking at strikeout percentage and walk percentage. Those are great numbers. So those are definitely ways to look at hitters and, defensive metrics and stats to see if they're good players or not. So these are newer stats that are coming out that people really look at. And then they get into pitchers, it's very similar. You have WAR, quality starts, win-loss, ERA. Obviously, those are ones that are normal. Strikeouts, runs allowed, not just earned runs allowed. So if a guy makes an error behind you, do you let him all score anyway? strikeout percentage, walk percentage. Obviously, if you're talking about closers, you got saves, blown saves, stuff like that. But home runs allowed, again, barrel percentage, solid contact percentage, hard hit contact or hard hit percentage, swing and misses in the zone percentage, swing and misses out of the zone percentage. Are your pitchers moving out of the zone and people are chasing and not hitting them? It's a great thing to see as a pitcher. Spin rate, obviously. People left on base. When people do get on base, you leave them there or you let them score. That's another great, a great metric. So there's obviously pitchers have, their metrics too, and these break down to good pitchers. If you're going to walk a bunch of guys, or you're going to put John Gant was the guy who had a high whip, but his ERA was 1.6 and his whip was 1.5. So that means he's incredible at leaving guys on base. Obviously got beat up the other day, which his numbers would show eventually that's coming. But that means a lot of guys aren't getting on base, but he's not letting them score. That's great. That's great. That's that metric. Saying, hey, look, he's going to get people on base, but he's not scoring. That's the way. I don't care if 30 guys get on base. They only score once. I'm going to win that game.
Yeah.
So these are more metrics than just your, ERA, wins, losses. Obviously, we can see that could be skewed. This really shows you who is good, how they're good, and what they're the best at. And that's all you want. You don't need everyone to be MVP, as we talked on this show before. You want to be, what are you good at? Are you a walk guy? Let me see your walk percentage. Are you a clutch guy? Let me see your left on base percentage. Are you just a guy who gets on base? Let me see your on base and, total times on base. Are you just a hard hit guy? Let me see your percentages. Are you don't swing and miss, Nick Magical kind of guy? Let me see your percentages. Are you a defense guy? Let me see your percentages. You could easily break down a team and build a team through, if you're a GM, through free agency and drafting and, all that crap to build a team. So this is definitely some stats that are going to a little deeper that I like to look at, or I'm going to look at a lot more. And it's just a new way to baseball is, new direction we're going in. So it's definitely some of the little bit more advanced stats, but nothing, too crazy where it's, batting average against pitchers, right-handed pitchers at home during day games. Like there's some stats that go nuts. I'm not going into them. I'm going into some ones that are just more basic, the more basic side of the advanced metrics, I guess you could say.
Right, right.
And I know you have some other stats you want to talk about and, some things that you want to bring up that you like to look at or something you're going to start looking at.
Yeah. Yeah, we're definitely in a sabermetric age. It was coming up in the early 2000s with, I forget his name, Bill Saber, right? Isn't that where it comes from, sabermetrics or wherever?
I think so. Bill Nye, that's what it was.
Yeah, Bill Nye. No, forgive me if I'm saying his name wrong, but he's a super statistician, super smart guy. He often offers his opinion on MLB Network and on Twitter and stuff, and he has some pretty outlandish, to the conventional baseball fan, has some outlandish picks for top players and who to watch and stuff like that. Sometimes he's right, sometimes he's wrong. It's an analytical look at baseball. But in this age of baseball we're in, it seems teams are more and more going to that analytic approach. Launch angle. Gone is the era of if you strike out a lot, you're not as valuable. If you strike out a lot, granted, you don't want to strike out above a certain clip, but a higher strikeout percentage doesn't necessarily mean you're a lesser player anymore. So for me, I'm still a little old school, me and you. So I like the advanced stats because it lets you dig. What I like is it gives you the ability to take stats that you already know and like and judge a player by, and then you could dig deeper. So like home runs, okay, guy's got a lot of home runs. Well, what's his like you said, barrel percentage, which is hard hit rate. What's his what's his launch angle? Tell me something about that. How much does he strike out? I personally like the strikeout and walk rate, and then the strikeout to walk rate, where you judge how many times he's striking out versus how many times he's walking. Because even though a lot of guy could have a high walk rate, if he's striking out at an even higher clip, or if he's striking out the same amount, or if he's a true 3-outcome player, then that tells you a lot about that player. If he's walking, say he strikes out, 5 to 10% of the time, which is almost elite in the league at this point, and he's walking at a 20-30% rate, that's almost unheard of. So that tells you a lot about that player. So I think the strikeout walk rate is something that I like a lot, and I like that a lot out of a pitcher too. Does the guy, for a pitcher, does he strike out, for every 9 innings he pitches, he strike out 15 guys, but he also walks 15 guys? It tells you a lot about him.
You're right.
Yeah.
How he was. He's better this year, but you could start putting names to these kind of stats.
Right.
The Javier Baez, he's striking out a bunch, not walking. And then the pitching side, Robbie Ray was like that. You strike out a bunch, but walk a bunch of guys. John Gant, where the whip is almost higher than his ERA. It's like, well, that shows you that he's getting a lot of guys on base. He's throwing a lot of pitches, and he's not going deep in games because he's getting a lot of base runners. Where all it takes is one hit, one bad bounce, and he's giving up a bunch of runs.
Yeah.
So these stats can really show you. It goes into a deeper dive of who's actually doing good, or not just who's doing good, who's maybe getting a little lucky,
Yeah.
or maybe he's getting bad luck, as we've seen 1 year. Not that we really want to talk about him too much, but Marcell Zuna, a couple years ago with the Cardinals, he had the highest exit velocity and highest percentage of highest outs made that were, was it more likely to be hits?
Yeah.
Like there were a percentage of balls that should have been hits that weren't hits, and highest exit velocity. And he had a down year, so he was just hitting bad luck all year.
Yeah, I remember that.
It's stuff like that you can look at to really give you a more in-depth thing. Like, oh well, he's only batting 220 this year.
Mm-hmm.
Well, now you can go look and see why is he batting 220 this year.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And that's what people can look at. Is it a down year? Is this just this is just him now? Is this, bad luck? So that's what really gets you with these a little bit more advanced stats. You can kind of see why your favorite player, or why when your favorite team's players are doing good, doing bad, or, struggling, whatever. You can go look at it.
Yeah, and and back to my point about the strikeout walk rate. Those are, and like you said too, these are kind of like crash course analytics. They're very, very basic sabermetric things. I don't think the average home run, RBI, 3, the holy trifecta of hitting statistics will ever go away necessarily. I just think they might be lesser in value. Like, I think you even mentioned to me when you watch a broadcast, in particular maybe the Yankee broadcast. I'm not familiar with other hometown market broadcasts, but they don't even show, they show OPS a lot anymore. They'll show average home run, RBI, but then they'll show OPS, or they'll show slugging, or usually
they did away with the fact of on base.
Yeah,
and on base I thought was a great stat. It's a basic stat, but I thought that was a great stat to show. Maybe he's a 250 hitter. Maybe he walks a lot, and maybe he hangs over the plate and gets beamed a bunch, and he's got a 400 something on base. Now he's on base 41% of the times. That's pretty good.
Yeah,
well, he's only hitting 25% of the times. Well, he's on base 41% of the times. I just need a guy on base to score.
Yeah.
So, they kind of did away with that, which is weird because that was a stat that I think was growing. And then now they, like the Yankees broadcast, you went to OPS because the game is more about, how far can you hit it? How many extra base hits are you hitting? Stuff like that. It's not so much about just getting on base and doing the smaller things. It's, what can you do on that one swing?
Yeah, it more favors the 3 outcome player, really, on base plus slugging. But
who they want to say is Adam Dunn was the king of.
Yeah.
He led the league in the 3 outcomes, and he was the inventor of that, they said. He used to strike out, walk, and home run quite a bit. Just to throw that out there, he also was the hardest player to double up in baseball throughout his career.
Which is just a funny stat.
So go figure. But, that 3 outcome logic is pretty much an era that we're kind of stuck in.
Yeah, unfortunately. Because I'm always, I was always kind of a big high average. You like a good home run rate. You like the guy to put the ball over the fence to a degree that fits his swing.
But yeah, that's also, it matters what you're talking.
Mm-hmm.
If you're talking, my 3-4-5 hitter, or even 2-3-4 hitter now, in this day and age where the lineups are different, yeah, I kind of want a guy who's going to hit some home runs. Well, I'm talking a first baseman. I need a guy who's going to hit some home runs.
Mm-hmm.
I don't really need, first baseman who is, going to have 8 home runs on the year.
Mm-hmm.
Not that I don't want to play like that. It just doesn't fit the position.
Right.
So I want a guy, if I'm talking a leadoff hitter, I just need a guy who's going to get on base and get hits and hit the ball over the field. If I'm talking a power hitter, I want some home runs, maybe drops the average, but a hard hit percentage and home run rate and fly ball rate and stuff like that. That's what I want to look at.
Mm-hmm.
I don't need, I have 9 guys that have a great home run rate. Obviously, if it's all working, it's working.
Mm-hmm.
But you want to be able to break it down. Like, this is what I need out of this guy, this guy, this guy, this guy.
Right. And, I mean, the teams even think differently like that now. Fans probably think differently like that now. Like, you want a certain production out of every player, depending on their position. Some that may even be an old argument, the positional. Well, you want this out of this guy, stuff like that. That the analytics are it depends on how analytical your team is too. Because there's some teams that are still a little behind. There's some teams that are trying to push forward with it. It all depends. And where's your look at team like the A's or the Rays? They almost are forced to do something like this because of their lower payroll.
But I was always a way of, just give me what your position says.
Mm-hmm.
If you're going to be a middle infielder, yeah, the shortstop has changed. That doesn't mean I need to have a guy who can't run at all playing shortstop.
Mm-hmm.
I still want you to be a shortstop. Just because you can now hit power like a first baseman doesn't mean you shouldn't run like a shortstop.
Mm-hmm.
Doesn't mean you don't have to field like a shortstop. So I still need you to be that. If you want to be exceptional somewhere else for that position, you still got to be good at what you're supposed to be good at. And that was, kind of a thing I had even younger when Cano was with the Yankees. I struggled with it. I was like, you play second base and you can't run at all. So you got to be able to at least move a little bit. You got to be able to steal some bases because you are a second baseman. I need you to do more what the position asks you to do. And if teams start kind of doing that, and one team in particular with the Yankees, if they start getting back to something like that, you can see how a team is built to be great. I don't need 9, 10 guys who are going to swing home runs and knock. Give me what you're good at and do that great.
Right.
The Rays and the A's are perfect at that. And you can even go to different sports, like the Patriots. Where with football, they got this guy to be great at this, and this guy to be great at this. Just be okay at a couple other things, and the whole team will mesh great.
Yep.
I don't need 9 guys to be MVPs. Now, I'm not saying I don't want 9 guys to be MVP, but I don't need 9 guys to be MVP. I don't need 9 guys hitting home runs. I don't need 9 guys, stealing 100 bases. I need a couple guys to steal some bases. I need some guys to hit average. I need guys to hit home runs. I need guys to steal bases. I need guys to, play great defense. I need guys to not swing and miss. Walk percentage. I need guys to hit the ball hard. That's what I need. Mm-hmm. Guy does this. Guy does that. I just need an equal spread and it all come together.
Right. Yeah.
And that's what this sabermetrics can really, you can almost look and be like, well, if I'm a favorite team of, I don't know, the Blue Jays next year, and we're like, hey, we don't have enough lefty on-base guys. Mm-hmm. You can go pull up a metric and be like, dude, this guy's a free agent. We should go get him.
Yeah.
And that's how teams work. That's how GMs will go look like, this is the guy we should go get. Mm-hmm. Moneyball is a great idea, a great movie to show that. They're like, this guy gets on base. I need an on-base guy. Let's go get this guy.
Yeah, because more guys on base produce more runs. That's just simple as that.
Yeah. I got a guy who hits home runs. I don't have a guy who gets on base. I don't get a guy who gets on base. Fits your role. You don't need to get a guy, well, he does a little bit of everything, or he's just another guy who hits home runs. Really, no. You don't need a bunch of guys to do that. You need just equal spread.
Right.
And that's what these sabermetrics and these newer stats, they can show. Mm-hmm. You can really break down. You can build a team on it. I just want all guys who have a hard hit percentage that's very high. That you can't really go wrong with.
No.
That's a great stat because that means they're just hitting the ball hard. Mm-hmm. It doesn't say that it's hitting up in the air, hitting low. It's hitting the ball hard. That's great.
Yeah. They're more trouble for the fielder. You're more likely to get on more, cause problems,
Give me less strikeout percentage. That means the ball's in play a lot more.
That's what I like.
More things can happen. Mm-hmm. So that's what's great about these sabermetrics. And these are just the more basic of the advanced sabermetrics if you want to break it down that way. Mm-hmm. Obviously, you can really go nuts, and people do.
Oh, yeah.
And that's great. But I think there's a line between now you're really changing how a team looks by sabermetrics, which don't always work. Mm-hmm. It's like using a simulation. That's why we don't use a simulation to play a game, right? I could simulate a game on MLB The Show. Doesn't mean that's what's going to happen. That's why we play the game.
Yeah.
Just because that team's the best on paper don't mean they're the best in the field.
Right.
So that's kind of how sabermetrics have gotten, analytics got to this point where it's like, well, you're almost trying to simulate a season by using all these stats to be like, well, I have these 3 things is why my team should be good. It doesn't always work that way. So you got to be able to integrate that, be able to use the old approach of, well, this guy just looks good. Mm-hmm. This guy's just having some bad luck. And, well, this guy's also striking out at 39% of the time. Mm-hmm. Put that together, and you're like, okay, well, now we got to figure something out.
Yeah. Yeah, the two can be, they don't have to be exclusive. They can live together. You don't have to separate the old and the new. You can mix them. So, and it's like you said, and I did remember the guy's name, I believe, is Bill James, if I'm not mistaken, as a sabermetric kind of guru. You don't have to be him because he's like the godfather of it, and he has some wild stats. It's usually W, OBA, X, whatever. A lot of it is sometimes it's park adjusted, sabermetric stuff like that. They go as deep as and like you said, day games, night games, stuff like that. It goes very deep. And if you want to, and it's like you said, look, Marcell Ozuna. This guy's batting 2 something. Well, why is he doing that? Well, his this is up, his this is down. He's not walking as much. He's striking out more. Blah, blah, blah. That's what it helps with, and that's what it comes down to at the end of the day. It helps you give a clearer picture to the basic stats that we grew up with the home runs, average, RBI, on base. It gives a more clear picture of what these stats mean.
Yeah, and if you're running a team, I mean, what a great, this guy had a down year. Let's go look why.
Yeah, what
Maybe
happened?
he just had tough luck.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe he had a lot of pitches called out of the strike zone. They were called strikes this year than the average player. But now I go sign him, taking my chance. Saying, oh, well, a little bit of luck changes, and he's closer to the player he should be, and I get him on a cheaper deal.
Yeah.
Or maybe I take a chance at an older player because he does this well. You can do that. You can see how teams kind of get made, or maybe see how teams should be built or could be built. You can kind of see it on your own now, which is cool. Instead of just being like, well, they should go get this guy because, he's really good. Well, what makes him really good?
Yeah,
and that's what our topic was. What makes him really good? And these are some advanced stats, more advanced stats to kind of show that.
Yeah. And Frank brought it to my attention. If you want to go and maybe even look at some more advanced stats yourself and make it easier for you rather than trying to calculate all the crap, MLB provides a StatCast, provided look at some of these stats. If you go to Baseball Savant, the link at MLB.com, it will give you a look at all the leaderboards, the current leaderboards for the advanced, and you can make your own chart. You can download it to Excel. You can export it and mess with it yourself and have fun. So
you can look at it and be like, well, let me see the top 10 hardest exit velocity guys and go look at them and be like, well, these are the guys this year. Let's see how they're doing this year. Oh, they're having pretty good years, so that's why they're hitting the ball hard. Yeah,
I mean, maybe you follow people on Twitter that provide some wild. I mean, granted, there's still guys that I would never know how they calculate or find these stats, but maybe you could do that yourself. You could figure out for yourself. Well, hey, this guy's doing this, this, and this. You could figure some stuff out for yourself. So I think I'll provide the link in the description or on our Twitter or something. Maybe I'll provide the link so you guys can check it out too. But it's cool. Frank showed it to me before we started recording. So. But yeah, it's interesting. We'll see where the future of baseball goes. It's getting very. It got very analytical very quick. I feel it kind of rushed up on us. Not that it wasn't coming. I did not see it coming. It's just the integration of it happened very quick. I feel.
Changed the game.
Yeah.
As we talked about many a times before.
Right. For better or for worse. I mean.
I think we know what side it's on.
Yeah. Especially the way that hitting's been looking this year. So.
Or lack thereof.
Yeah. So with that, I think. We'll see what happens in the future of sabermetrics and analytics and the future of baseball. It's all linked at this point. All of this is very linked because your front office people you have statisticians that are just sitting at a computer all day telling you who's doing what. And that's just baseball now. Like I said, better for worse. So why don't we move into our news? Like I said at the top, kind of limited news stuff. One big piece of news that we talked about last week regarding the foreign substance stuff with the pitchers.
Out of the game.
I know, we already knew. We knew it was coming. Yeah, so if you see our episode 64, topic of conversation regarding foreign substances, the league seems to be cracking down hard on foreign substances used by pitchers. The problem has been considered so widespread that the league is starting to investigate pitchers and ball clubs. Notable pitchers such as Trevor Bauer and Garrett Cole show at least a 6% dip in spin rate since the report came out. Is this a coincidence, or do you think that these guys are starting to get off the bandwagon of using their foreign substance until they see what the league's going to do?
I don't want to get into it more than we did last week, but ever since spin rate has been calculated, every year it's been higher and higher. Mm-hmm. Again, this is the highest year spin rates ever on the average pitch. But again, and the MLB, I've seen reports on it that the position players are ratting on the pitchers at this point because they were like, hey, listen, spin rates keep going up, our offense keeps going down. And these guys are obviously using something to make them not just, tackiness, adjust the ball. And even position players know this, and hitters. They don't care about the tackiness.
Yeah.
They care about the fact that it's changing the way that the ball's moving. And that's the problem. And MLB came up with rules with the umpires are going to check pitchers 8 to 10 times a game.
Wow.
While they're coming off the mound. They could stop at any time to check, not for coach to call it out. They could stop at any time to go check their hat, go check their gloves. They're going to check them out. They're walking off the mound to keep the game going. They're going to check position players because they go to the mound. Mm-hmm. They can check catchers.
Yep.
Because they can have it behind the shin guards, which we've heard stories about. So they're going to check them for these materials, and they know what to look for in these substances.
Oh, yeah.
And I believe there is some sort of pine tar thing that they're either working on or have told them that they can maybe, put their fingers on a pine tar stick or something like that to give them some sort of tackiness. I'm not sure where they're at with that. Mm-hmm. I feel like if that's a little bit where they're just like, keep on your own, they will do that, and that's fine. Mm-hmm. But they do have to stop the fact that, if you're having a substance really change the impact of a pitch. We talked about last week. You really want to go into it more. But MLB is actually doing, for once, a really good job on that.
Yeah, agreed.
They're really using their technology and stuff to fight that. And they should, especially in this day and age where, guys can't hit or they don't want to hit. One of the two.
Yeah,
I can get a little leaguer to go put up numbers, the same numbers as some of these guys are doing. So they really should fight that, and they are. And that's good for baseball, and that's one of the few needle in the haystack kind of idea, because that's like the first idea they had in, I don't know, 30 that's actually been any good.
I know. And you can listen to our episode last week on it. We kind of give our full opinions, but I think it's good they're cracking down, because clearly if they're cracking down, they see something's wrong. Everyone in baseball, it's like I said, we said last week, everyone in baseball knows this is going on. It's been since the beginning of time with baseball that the pitchers always try to get a little advantage. But if they're cracking down on it, they clearly know something, and they've been hearing things.
Yeah, and if the offense is up, probably wouldn't say much, but it's players now telling them, hey, come on, there's an issue here. Our offense is already down. Position players ratting on other players.
Mm-hmm.
It's kind of like I don't know, maybe the concept where like Mike Fiers kind of ratted out the Astros there. It's like, all right, this is enough. This is way past, little sign stealing.
Yeah.
This is like, going to change everything.
Yeah.
Let's go. We got to stop this. This is what we're getting to with the foreign substance. Like, hey, come on. That ball just had 3 inches of glob on it, and the ball just moved 17 feet. Come on.
Yeah.
And it was 100.
Yeah. So, we'll see. Some of your favorite pitchers might get called out for it. I don't think it's anything to immediately start to throw stones at people for, unless it's really egregious, because it seems like all the pitchers are doing it. So I'm not really going to, unless there's, like I said, unless someone's doing it really bad, I'm not going to really think that much less of much of these guys, in my opinion. Preliminarily, we'll see once reports come out and things happen, but I just feel like it's still a thing where everyone's using it. Maybe everyone's using it pretty bad, some worse than others, but like I said, we'll see when reports come out. Maybe the MLB finds some stuff I don't think it's on the level of the Astros, but some conspiracy or something.
Yeah, and then one quick note, I always thought were funny, and it was a good way to know that maybe something was going on, or maybe it was just precautionary. Anytime a ball's in the dirt, you never seen the catcher turn and throw it to any dugout. You always threw it to his dugout.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So you always seen that.
Yeah.
Always threw it to his dugout.
Mm-hmm.
Never threw it. Oh, just throw it out, or give it to the umpire. He'll throw it out. Always threw it to his dugout.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe he knew something.
Yeah.
So you always see that.
There you go.
You see that a lot more than you see. It's like 90, probably 95% and 5% the other way.
Yeah.
So,
yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah. So some other news I got: the All-Star voting's open, so we can start voting for your favorite players, or that's always sometimes becomes a mess. But you start voting for players who deserve to go to the All-Star game. That's great. First All-Star game in 2 years. And Tony La Russa is now second on all-time managers wins list, behind Connie Mack, who I think he's got about 1,000 wins to go to get him.
Yeah.
So
good luck with that.
Yeah, I don't know if he's going to get there. But, yeah, I guess you never know. There's some other news I had just to throw in there, and I'm not sure if you had anything else.
Yeah, just quick before we go into who's doing the best right now, I had that the USA qualified for the Tokyo Olympics. The last time they qualified was in 2008. And they have won a gold medal in baseball since 2000. In 2021, the Olympics, or the previous Olympics, they made it, not an official sport. So, you have to, obviously count out that year. But Cuba has won 3 of the last 5. So,
they were eliminated too, right?
What, Cuba this year?
Was it? I think they were it was either them or one of the real top teams who has never been eliminated before, like in the qualifiers. It was eliminated.
Yeah, I'd have to go back and read the article. This is all, by the way, from CBS Sports. A lot of our news comes from CBS Sports. They said that there's still qualifications, like they're on the chopping block. Some of these teams, like Dominican Republic and Puerto Rico, and teams are usually kind of expect to be in there.
Maybe it was one of those 2 teams. I think it was somebody who's really never missed a qualifier.
Yeah.
Or never lost in a qualifier is lost.
I think you're right. I just have to double back to the article and check, but yeah, I think you're right.
Which would open up quite some windows for some other countries and nations, and maybe for the good.
Yeah.
To see some growth in the game.
Mm-hmm. Sure. So then, that moves us into who's doing the best right now. Currently, the Giants hold a very slim lead for the best record in the MLB at 37-22, with the Padres right behind them in the NL at 36-25. The Rays hold the best record in the AL at 38-23, with the Red Sox and White Sox right behind them in second place at 36-23. The White Sox have the best run differential in the league at plus 85, and the Pirates own the worst at minus 75.
So that's either good or bad. I don't know what side you're looking at.
If you're a Giants fan, you're probably like, what? Okay.
And if you're a Pirates fan, you're just all right. So
you already knew it was coming.
You're just like, it could be worse. So some hot and cold teams, just to be generic, not dive into too much stats here. The Rays are hot. Red Sox, White Sox, Mets, Brewers, and Giants. as you said, some of them teams you already heard of, so it makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
Some cold teams, the one team in New York, the Rangers, the Cardinals, the Nationals, Marlins, and Diamondbacks. They're all really not doing great, especially like I said, that one team in New York. The Yankees, they're bad. So, yeah, that's just not really good for those teams. And those are some of them are some pretty good teams. Nationals expect to be decent this year. Cardinals, just in a cold streak. They have been good this year, just in a cold streak. And then the Yankees have been terrible all year. So, and then obviously Rangers, Marlins, and Diamondbacks are kind of expected. But some big names there, or some big teams there, not playing well. And it's now almost middle of June.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like a do or die. Either go or go home.
Yeah. Yeah, it is. It's really getting crunch time here. You never say that, this early that a team's totally out of it, but, we're not happy Yankee fans right now. Let's put it that way. I'm not going to get too far into it.
And it's not that we're early. I think we're a third of the way through. Mm-hmm. Right? We only got 100 games left.
We're like 60, almost 60 games through.
So you only got 100 games left.
Mm-hmm.
So it's kind of like...
Yeah, if you're not going now is the time where you start seeing red flags come up.
Yeah, who you are is who you are. True colors will come out. However you want to, whatever cliches and sayings you want to use, you're going to be who you're going to be.
Yeah.
So...
Right.
That's kind of what's going on. But,
yeah.
Well, you got some hitters doing well here. Jump into that.
Yeah, let's do the who's hot and who's not. You obviously gave us the hot and cold teams, but we have the hot and cold players. So to start off, we have our two players of the week in the AL and the NL. Number one, we have Patrick Wisdom for the Cubbies. 368 average over the last week, 1053 slugging, and a 1453 OPS. And over in the AL, you have Ryan Mountcastle with a 500 average over the last week, 1100 slugging, and a 1624 OPS. Number three, Cedric Mullins, 600 average over the last week, 1200 slugging, and 1867 OPS. Because I played him in fantasy, that's why. Yeah. I think he went like 7 for 7. He had a stretch where he went 7 for 7 or 8 for 8 or something.
I think
because he went 5 for 5 and opened the day 2 for 2.
Saturday and Sunday he combined for 8 for 9. I believe it was 3 for 4 yesterday with a walk of some sort. Diving plays, and the Orioles put up 18 runs yesterday.
Yeah,
an impressive feat. The first time they've done that, I think, since 2015 or something. It said.
Wow,
which I mean, 18 runs, but I mean that's a lot.
Yeah. Losing 14 games in a row, and then they come out and
just
give you 18.
All the runs they didn't score for 14 games, they just scored all one day.
Yep. So, yeah, he was a big part of that. And then, right back to back, you had Ryan Mountcastle and Cedric Mullins. I mean, there you go right there.
There's your 1-2 or 1-2-3. And then Mancini's been pretty good all year.
Yeah, his RBI rate has been insane.
Yeah, it's been nuts. So.
Yeah, lots of like in Birdland right now, I'd say. Not that their record reflects that, but I think that you got some pieces here. Even if you trade them or you got young guys like Mountcastle and Mullins.
Something to watch.
Yeah, you got something.
That's all I'm asking for any of the teams, the team I like. Just give me something worth my time turning my damn TV on.
I know.
Jeez.
We're not happy Yankee fans, to reiterate. Number 4 here, Whit Merrifield. 450 average, 750 slugging, and 1179 OPS over the last week. And number 5, Matt Olson. 450 average over the last week, 850 slugging, and 1372 OPS.
And I believe he's, tied for third in the league in home runs?
How many does he have?
15. I believe there's a couple guys with 17.
Vlad's got 18.
Oh, is 18 now?
Yeah, I think he does,
So maybe he's fourth now. I think it was 18, 17, 16, and 15.
Either way, he's right there.
He's right there. He's on the leaderboard. You're going to go look him up.
Yeah.
Have a great year. Batting about 275.
Mm-hmm.
Errors are up a touch, but Matt Olson's fantastic. He's probably my favorite player, my favorite player in the league.
That's your boy. I know.
So, love Matt Olson. So, some other guys to look at. Katel Marte, of course, another guy I really love. Swirling around some trade rumors. So, take a look at him. Great player. Switch hitter. India for the Reds. Played great in spring training. Came out the season okay. Struggled. Got hurt. Now he's playing great again. Ozzie Albies, he came out the gates unbelievably terrible. He's been doing good. Vladimir Guerrero Jr., obviously, mashing the ball. He's just going nuts. So, yeah, there's some hot hitters, some guys to throw in there, the guys you mentioned. Some pitchers to look at. Herman Marquez out in Colorado. He's putting up I think he's got 2 complete games already this year.
Oh, wow.
And, yes, his ERA, I think, is in the high 3s at this point. But that's mostly because I think he got 8 earned one game, and then he had 5 earned another game. For the most part, he's been pretty solid other than those 2 games. Zach Greinke, ball keeps rolling. Sean Manaea, complete game shutout this past week. Martin Perez pitching good for the Red Sox. And Lucas Sims, reliever for the Reds. I believe he had 3 saves over the last 7 days.
Oh, wow.
And he's really not their closer, but pitching great.
Oh.
So those are some names to look at. A couple of them surprising.
Yeah, definitely. Then move on to the cold players here. Number 1 here, I got Ian Happ, .056 average over the last week with a 111 slugging and a 261 OPS.
He seems to be always just not hitting the way he should be hitting.
Mm-hmm.
Every time. Even if he's like, oh, he's not that cold. He's like 190. It's like, you were a top prospect.
Yeah, and a pretty good switch hitter too. He's a good athlete. So I don't know. I want him to do good. I kind of like the guy. So
yeah, a couple years ago, first pitch of the whole season, home run.
Yeah, that's right.
Watched it live.
That's right.
Oh, all right. First pitch. I'm actually home to watch it. Let's sit back. Oh, there it goes. Yep, this year's gonna be a big mess.
Yeah, right off to a good start.
Crushed it against Jose Urena for the Marlins. Second deck.
Oh, that's right.
In Miami.
That's right.
I never forget. First pitch. Boom. I'm like, are you nuts?
Yeah. Like I said, off to a good start. Number 2 here for the cold players, you got Herman Mercedes, who's been pretty red hot all year. .06 average over the last week, the .067 slugging, and a .243 OPS. Number 3, Danny Santana with a 100 average over the last week, 100 slugging, and a 243 OPS. Joey Wendell, Joey Lunchpail, 111 average over the last week, 111 slugging, and 269 OPS. And number 5, Josh Rojas, a 130 average over the last week, 391 slugging, and a 558 OPS. I don't think I saw anyone with a 0 average for the week, which is usually that's always a step up because you usually see at least one guy like in an 0 for 20 slide or something.
Well, I believe Kike Hernandez at one point was 0 for his last 27. He never hit going back to last Tuesday.
Oh my God.
Until yesterday. So Saturday, he got a hit.
Oh, against the Yankees, yeah, sure.
I believe he got a hit yesterday as well. But yeah, that was.
That's a slide.
That's quite the slide. That's setting you up for a nice terrible time.
Yeah, sure.
So some other guys I got here. Jose Abreu actually been somewhat, slow this year in his offense. I mean, his RBI is still up, but that's just,
Pretty sure he's leading the league, isn't he?
Yeah, that's what he does. So, if you're going to time your hits up, you time them up nice, like he does. Javier Baez has been cold. Carson Kelly, he's been really good for the Diamondbacks, has been struggling. And Victor Robles. Some other, a couple guys there. Cold pitchers to look at. Hakeem Soria, struggling for the Diamondbacks. Jake Arrieta, Griffin Canning, Ian Anderson, and Haijan Ryu. Those are some guys there. Some bigger names, especially Soria's decent. Arrieta, obviously in the past. Griffin Canning is a young pitcher who's supposed to pitch well. He's been pitching bad this year. Ian Anderson, a young, obviously, prospect for the Braves. And Ryu, obviously, the ace over there for Toronto. Those are some guys, you kind of expect to be playing better, but have been pitching over the last 7 days or so, just struggling.
I'm pretty sure Ryu having a pretty good year this year too for the Blue Jays. Maybe mixed bag.
I think it's been a little bit mixed. I mean, his stats I'm pretty sure are okay. He has been hurt a little bit, but maybe not quite the number 1 ace they really wanted. But he's been pitching pretty good. You can't really argue. Toronto's hanging around.
Right.
Tough division.
Yeah, they're right with the Yankees, which I guess at this point isn't hard.
Well, that's besides the point. But some injuries. I kept the injury list shorter this week. There wasn't a bunch to add on, and some.
Yeah, not like last week.
No big, huge impact guys who really got hurt, which is good, really good. G-Man Choi plays back on the IL. Michael Fulmer for the Tigers on the IL. Elizabeth Diaz for the Astros. Colton Wong. Cardinals dealing with just a rash of injuries over there. There's a couple guys to name. I'm not going to go into them, but Miles Mikolas hurt again and stuff like that. So they're dealing with kind of a handful of injuries, which could explain why they're on the cold list. Mm-hmm. John Gray, Adalberto Mondesi came off. He was batting like 350 with a couple home runs. He finally came back, hurt again. So those are the guys I just wanted to add to the guys who got hurt. And then for the good news of things, Colin Moran's back, Mike's fantasy team.
Yes.
So go the Fighting Pirates. Zach Britton on the verge of being back. George Springer in the right direction. Chris Sale's going to throw a bullpen session. Let's get Chris Sale back. Brian Hayes back. And Byron Buxton to continue, to start rehab.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe he could come back and kickstart the Twins.
And I believe, I don't know if you mentioned it, I missed it, but I believe Severino started a rehab assignment for Luis Severino.
Yep, he started rehab, pitched yesterday, actually pitched pretty well. So
all right, cool.
Have him on the verge of being back. Yeah, there's some other guys to go into. I didn't want to dive, like Trout is doing better.
Yeah.
But still, obviously, a little ways away. But, yeah, a little slower on the news, or the injury news this week, which is good. Yeah, thank God. So hopefully we can see some big-name guys come back and kind of have this guy got hurt, that's why this team struggled kind of thing. Like, really would see with the Angels.
Yeah.
So, other than that, and the last thing I want to go into is obviously your trivia question. And it's the best part. But
Sure.
yesterday, Sunday, June 6th, Jesse Winker hit his second 3-home run game of the season. He's been having a great year for the Reds. The Reds have been just mashing the ball for the most part. They get cold at times, but they're just offensively been hitting the crap out of the ball.
If only they could do that in the playoffs last year.
Yeah, what a turn. But so he had his second 3-home run game of the year. So the trivia question: who has the most 3-home run games in a single season?
It's a good one because it's kind of surprising.
Yeah, and the most 3-home run games in a single season is 3. So Jesse Winker has quite some time to do it.
Mm.
And the record's held by Sammy Sosa in 2001. He's got 3. And I believe the record for most in a career is only 6.
Yeah.
A 3-way tie.
It kind of makes sense.
So to have 3 in one season is pretty impressive.
You're halfway there in one season.
Yeah, and 3 3-home run, that's 9 in 3 games.
Mm. Yeah.
Unless you hit 4 in one of them games, then you're talking 10.
Yeah.
You're talking 9 to 10 home runs.
Yeah, no surprise that guy hit over 60 home runs for a year. Yeah. No real surprise there.
It's 600 in his career, right? 609.
Yeah.
So, so trivia question: most 3-home run games in a single season is 3, and it's held by Sammy Sosa in 2001.
Yeah, I mean, your line of thinking, and like I said to you when I was guessing it, your line of thinking kind of eventually gets to Sammy Sosa. I guessed Barry Bonds to start. Barry Bonds an easy one because he has the home run record. Babe Ruth. Babe Ruth's always an easy guess because it's Babe Ruth. Hank Aaron, the other home run king. The guys like A-Rod and Pujols and these guys that hit a lot of home runs. It's always the easy guess. Yeah, McGuire. I mean, so your list eventually dwindles down.
Bell. I mean, you could go into that. Dave Kingman.
Yeah.
I think he was on the all-time career list and get like 5.
Mm-hmm.
Makes sense. But
yeah.
You could really go in and so you see Sosa, you're like, that makes sense. But you're like, maybe it's a touch of a surprise.
Yeah, it was a little surprising to me. It wasn't so much because he had that stretch where he was unbelievable. But when you think back on Sammy Sosa, he kind of falls in that steroid era. You're like, all right. You're like, makes sense, but you almost kind of wish it was like a Pujols or something. Yeah. You know what I mean? So,
Griffey.
Oh, I know. Yeah, actually, I didn't even think of Griffey. That's definitely something he would do. I don't know how many he's got for his career, but that's a good one.
That's it, though. I mean, we're really going to start turning the page, though. Rumors are flying around for trades, so you're going to start really seeing them. One of these episodes coming up, we'll maybe go into some rumors and stuff like that and really, dive deep into that. But we're not far from the trade deadline. In that episode or 2 episodes is usually, that's notes and names everywhere. That's usually a mess.
Yeah, I can't wait for that.
That should be exciting. But, we're just, we're in a great time of the year. A lot of warm weather. Baseball's in full swing, and we're, going to see a lot of turning around in the divisions and teams jumping up and down. So it's really an exciting time for the season.
Yeah, there's some teams that, have some big questions. Like I say every week, the Yankees and the Braves are on rough spots. Braves are under 500. Yankees are right hovering there, very underperforming. Teams like the Red Sox overperforming, I feel. Rays, I feel, are still overperforming, but the Rays just surprise me every year, so I guess I can't be surprised every year like this. So you got some teams that are maybe law of averages, maybe some teams are just overperforming for the year, and that is what it is. Or maybe in some ways law of averages will prevail. I don't know.
The one thing I noticed this year, to throw out the last little thing here, is it seems like there's been a lot more real longer hot streaks and real longer cold streaks for teams.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
You notice like the Cubs won like 17 out of 18 or 17 out of 19. The Rays, at this point, what are they, like 18 out of 20?
I know,
crazy?
yeah.
We've seen, the Yankees won 7 in a row at one point. We're seeing, the Red Sox won a bunch in a row.
Mm-hmm.
And then you see on the other side, the Orioles lost 14 in a row. The Diamondbacks lost 11 in a row. I think the Twins lost a bunch in a row at one point.
Yeah.
So you're seeing it on both ends where it's like maybe a little bit more extended cold streaks and maybe a little bit more extended hot streaks or real hot streaks. We go all the way back to the A's. They went 14 in a row.
They were almost getting to that 20 in a row Moneyball year.
After starting 0-6?
Yeah.
1-7? I mean, so you're talking about some really long stretch losing streaks and some really long stretch winning streaks, which you don't usually, maybe not see quite that much.
Yeah, I can't explain it. The year is just very weird to me. It boggles the mind as a baseball fan, in my opinion. Yeah. In a lot of ways. Like you said, hot and cold streaks. The pitchers are way overperforming. Hitters are way underperforming. There's teams that are just very weird, that are in just a weird position. Some teams at the beginning were way overperforming. It's a very weird year. There's a lot of things not making sense to me. So, but it makes it fun. That it kind of baseball always keeps you on your toes. But that's kind of all I got for this week. Unless you want to add anything to the end here, a little footnote at the end of the episode, then
No, that's it. I'm just excited to keep watching.
yeah, sure, always. All right, then let's wrap it up then. Thank you guys for listening. You can catch this podcast on Apple Podcasts as well as Google Podcast and Spotify. You can listen on our regularly updated YouTube channel as well as our website, screwball.podbean.com. You can follow me on Twitter at RealMikeLepre. You can follow me on Instagram at Mike Lepre.
And you can follow me on Instagram and Twitter at FDubs10.
You can follow our official Screwball Twitter at ScrewballPod. You can follow our official Screwball Facebook at ScrewballPod. No E in Screw. And that's it from us, guys. We'll see you next week.
Yep, take care.